I checked Bumble because I was talking to somebody like when I got to the airport, and then by the time I got from the airport to my hotel, I had like 14 new likes, and it
Nice.
was like what the hell is going on here? You get like 14 likes a year in Brooklyn.
You get likes on Bumble?
Yeah,
What
because
is it? How does that work?
they tell you like, oh, there's a little category that says like, oh, this many people like you, and it'll be like, oh, two. None of them are nearby. So like they just came in from like fucking Denver or whatever for the weekend, and then you just are not a Bumble, user like they are.
But does it match you with the people that liked you, or just like these people like you, but you don't know who they are?
It will match you, but it costs like fucking $10 a month or some shit. Like
it costs
like $7, $8.
$8 a month.
7, 8, yeah.
It's weekly.
That's extortion.
Yeah, this is man.
You could pay a lot more for sex, so it really like it all evens out.
True.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to Jersey.
Recover that one.
So, am I the first girl who has ever been on this podcast, or has there been one before?
Unfortunately for you, yes. So you have to hold us accountable.
Yeah,
I will, but I'm honored. Thanks for having me.
I mean, you're also the third guest on this podcast, so it's not like, yeah. I feel like we beat.
It's not the best representation, but it's better than a lot of places. Yeah. Anyway, this is Nersey. I'm Trey.
I'm Drew.
I'm Slava.
I'm John.
And today we have Drew. You should do the introduction for this one.
Okay. Today our guest is the honorable genius level beauty Emilie Friedlander, my partner in life and business, and the business of life,
and podcasting. He sometimes helps me out with my podcast.
What's that called?
It's called The Culture Journalist.
Oh, that's really interesting. And where can people find that?
On Substack, Culture Journalists at substack.com.
That's tight. We've officially done more promo for the Culture Journalist on Nersey than we have for Nersey.
Yeah. You guys have to think about UX. Like, how do people sign up to hear more? What is your sales funnel?
Well, we got to start top of the funnel. Then it comes down, and then it's more like a cyclone because then, it goes out. So, yeah.
Yeah, Trey's actually working on it. We're starting at the top of the funnel, and we're really lighting it on fire, right? So then we're really just working the outside of the funnel, and then we're working on kind of like intaking air from the bottom of the funnel to really suck through the smoke at the top of the funnel until we've turned our business strategy into a bomb.
Are we also putting like a coin in the funnel, like in the mall, and letting it run down while making like a fun noise?
That's science.
Yeah, yes. How much money do you think they made off of those?
I think
it was a motherfucker to count. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear those are the people that are going to buy Vice, actually. The coin funnel people.
Vice just puts like one of those. It's not even a machine, man. It's just a thing. But they just put one in like the middle of like Bedford Ave, and they're just like praying. Yeah.
I'm imagining on Bedford Ave, it would have like a specific type of groove so that you could like roll a Coke baggie down it.
Not anymore.
That's true.
Maybe I was we were in Williamsburg recently after not being there for a long time, and I like didn't even know where I was. Like there were many streets that were just completely unrecognizable. Like I didn't even know where I was on a map.
Oh yeah. Man, don't even get me started on the Moxie Hotel, but that thing is one of the best barbecue places we had in Brooklyn was in that location. They knocked it all down. And
what do they put there now?
It's a hotel. It's the Moxie Hotel. I think it's like a Marriott like subsidiary or whatever.
So affordable housing.
If that's what you even want to try to call it, sure.
Yeah. Unaffordable housing.
Which barbecue place?
Do you all know what propaganda is?
Do I?
No.
No,
Yeah,
exactly. No. It's like the closest bar to it now.
Is
Yeah,
propaganda?
Nikki's just pretty close though, and shout out to Nikki because she's a good buddy. Like she opened a bar that you remember where South 4th Street bar was?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that closed down, and then Nikki bought like the space out. She used to be like a bartender at Lucky Dog and was always talking about opening her own bar. And then she
Oh.
opened up like the beginning of March 2020. And yeah.
So
But
it worked out really well.
luckily, everybody involved was really cool. They were like, "No, we believe in this," and like, you would, yeah, we're gonna make sure this place stays open. So, yeah,
That's fantastic.
and she's still around. Yeah.
Trey, how long do you think you're gonna make it staying in New York? Or like, what would be your breaking point for being like, "Fuck this, I'm out. I'm moving to Philadelphia"?
Philadelphia specifically.
Well, that's just where you go. That's where hipsters retire on the East Coast.
And Branson.
Or LA. Like,
or
yeah.
LA.
Or LA. Or, I don't know, like maybe I just go to Prague or Copenhagen or some shit and y'all never see me again.
That's a good vibe.
But I've been like, I don't know why I've been like seeing like a lot of New Yorkers recently be like, New York is too expensive, but I won't move anywhere else in America. I'll only move to Europe. Are you like that?
No, I'm not. But, okay, real quick. Slava, please stop shaving your head.
I can't have hobbies. Like I have stuff to do. I only have a few hours. I have like work tomorrow morning, and there's like a girl who works on site. Like I've muted my microphone. I don't see what the problem
Okay,
is.
no, never mind. I didn't mean to interfere with your, getting your game strong and stuff. Like, go ahead, man. Yeah.
Do you want to narrate what you're seeing? Because I don't think that people know what you're referring to.
For the record, Slava is in like a Walter White looking ass basement, shaving his head, I believe, with a Norelco tri-razor thingamajig.
First of all, it's a Philips Series 3000 triple nozzle head. My real baldies will know that you don't really want to use a straight razor. You want to use the triple suction head here.
Okay.
And, it really hugs the curve like a dream. Get it down to a perfect 0, and it lets me do it in about 15 minutes without interruptions. So, I mean,
well, you're interrupting our podcast because we can't focus on our discussion because you're shaving your head.
That reminds me of a time in college. I was riding around with my friend Kevin in his car, and he goes, "Hold on, I've got to shave." And he just violently opens his glove compartment, pulls out an electric razor, and starts shaving while driving.
Damn, he keeps an electric razor in his beer cabinet?
No, in like his car.
Yeah.
In his beer cabinet? Is that a Canadian term for glove box?
What's a glove box?
It's an American term for beer cabinet.
Oh, like where you put your license and stuff in the car?
Yeah.
It's the perfect shape for a tall boy.
Okay.
Try it out. You have a car.
Yeah, but I also want to keep it as well as my license.
That's why you put it in your beer cabinet.
Fair enough. Well, anyways, we have convened here today because the place that we used to work at, which is now
Emergency meeting.
Emergency pod. The place that we used to work at is going even more bankrupt than usual. And recently, Semaphore's Max Tanney reported, just weeks before Vice declared bankruptcy in May, the millennial media company paid performance bonuses to top-level executives. The bonuses were part of the annual payouts executives at the company received based on performance in the previous year, according to two people with direct knowledge of the stipends. Obviously bullshit. But the checks were written as the company was gearing up for potential bankruptcy, which means many rank and file staffers and freelancers, including me, weren't paid for work done from April and May and were furious to learn of their boss's bonuses. The company has continued to cut costs in other areas, including eliminating the messaging app Slack. On Thursday, an HR rep sent an email to staff saying the company would not be able to pay severance this month. First off, if you're listening, you have the means, I think we all recommend you donate to the GoFundMe page that Vice staffers have set up
That was
in an attempt
thing I
to.
was like, goddamn, because this is, you guys remember being, well, we all are still like freelancers in a way,
Yeah.
and chasing that money down, especially like when you're working at a place and you're supposed to get paid every 2 weeks and that's just not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like you go to a place like that for stability.
Yeah.
Like even just like the kind of faint semblance of stability and like that just gets ripped away from you immediately. That fucking sucks, man.
And yeah, they were like saying, the union was saying today that people had medical bills they couldn't pay because they just haven't been getting money. They just got I guess maybe, I don't know if maybe they're able to go on unemployment, but I'm sure that doesn't go very far in New York City right now.
No, it
and
doesn't.
Yeah, so like Sarah David, who was recently, she worked with me at Vice and was recently actually on the Culture Journalist podcast. She's like a union queen. She set up a GoFundMe to raise some money. I don't know how much they raised. Like, do you know how much they raised?
I think
not off the top of my head.
$32K.
But it was, amazing that, people were pitching in, but the amount that they raised, probably not enough to cover like most of the bonuses that are recorded in this document that the executives received, which was released by Max Tanney as part of the tweet.
Who knows more about what's going on at Vice than anybody, including people who work at
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember when I worked at The Outline, which was another publication a lot smaller that had sort of a similarly tenuous existence situation. And I just remember anytime I saw Max tweeting about The Outline, like a scoop, I was like, oh, fuck, the shit's getting shut down. But thankfully, The Outline, I found out about The Outline getting shut down before he did. But
should we just go through real quick and like talk about the egregious part of all this, which is the bonuses that were paid out in this and the compensation that some people got for running a media company very badly?
Yes.
And should we say names too, or like I don't know how much trouble we get in, but yeah. Actually, no, this is reported news, man. Fuck it, air these motherfuckers out.
Yeah, no, this is in the public record.
You don't think you get in any trouble for saying like, oh,
I got all my severance. I don't give a fuck.
Not Gavin. Who's the other guy?
There's
Shane.
Gavin, Shane, and Sarouche. What's funny is like
Shane getting X 100,000. You could definitely name that. Is it in the document? Does it say what he got?
I think that
I was trying to see that.
This is like Nancy Vice, though, right? This is not the Shane's Vice. This is like since 2017 when they brought adults.
Caught up on my lore. Who's the new executive group there?
Well, a lot of what's recorded.
It involves some people. Okay, let me figure out a way to say things that aren't going to have me like unemployable.
The thing about Israel.
Well, so this document, the embarrassing thing about your company going bankrupt is that documents like this become part of the public record, and you have things like your salary or monies received published. And this statement seems to be, it's a statement of financial affairs filed with the United States Bankruptcy Court of the Southern District of New York. I've seen a couple of documents related to this, but it seems like this one is like it records monies that people with the power to make financial decisions that could have led to the company needing to file for bankruptcy, monies that they received in the year or so leading up to it.
Now, because I'm looking at Katie Way's article right now, and also shout out other friend of the pod, Katie Way. Yeah, this was such an easy company not to run into the ground.
So, like, does it say this Nancy Dubuck? Nancy
It doesn't
Dubuck?
list Nancy's in this, I don't think, but some of them, like, for people who are still there, or, yeah.
And Nancy actually left
Nancy was pushed
3-ish
out,
months ago.
Yeah, let's be real. Nancy got pushed out.
Nancy allegedly got pushed out, in case any Vice lawyers are sort of like voyeuristically listening to this.
Man, y'all can sue me. I have shit. Yeah.
So
money, but it ain't worth it. Yeah.
It looks like part one of the document is the gross revenue from the business from 12/31/2021 to April of this year. So it lists things like, how much revenue they got through the entire business. Another section is like certain payments or transfers made to creditors within 90 days before filing the case. So it's like we actually found a lot. They have a lot of people they pay to do stuff.
Including one thing that I just
took away
found.
All our snacks. Actually, no. You okay. Drew and Slava weren't there anymore, but at one point they took away all of our snacks under the guise of like some kind of health initiative. Motherfuckers taking Ubers everywhere.
Wow.
It's like, why did you need an Uber to Montauk on a Saturday for Vice business? Like, fuck off. Like, actually, that's a lie. I don't know if that's a true thing or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. But no, it's like even like just like home, like to and from and shit, man. It's just goddamn get on the train like the rest of us. You're not famous. Nobody's gonna bother you.
I mean, there was when I first started at Vice. I don't think you were there yet, Trey. This is like when they were in the was the other building. Like, was it North 6?
I think y'all were on like
11.
North 11. Sorry, like. Yeah. They had an arrangement with Northside Taxi Cab, and it was like a thing where if you needed to go somewhere, you could just call them or something. Like you could just call the car service and they would come pick you up. They had some kind of arrangement with Vice that maybe they were like vouchers or something, but you could like just get a cab by virtue of working there.
Yes, I had.
When I was hired in like 2016, that was. You can still get the vouchers.
I had like a checkbook's worth of vouchers in my wallet at one point. I also just want to highlight that in part 2 of this document, where it lists like who Vice paid before like filing for bankruptcy, they paid a company called Cartel LLC in Santa Monica, California, $406,230. Again, that is Cartel LLC.
Spell the name of this company.
CARTEL.
Okay, just making sure.
Yes.
How much? 460?
406,230.
I can't believe Slava went to prison for working with Cartel, and goddamn, yeah.
Well, mine wasn't an LLC. Yeah, that was a problem. Mine wasn't registered.
Oh, they weren't registered in Delaware or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, so much could have been avoided.
Did you look up what this company was?
Oh, that's lame. It's just an editing and post-production facility in Santa Monica.
I just looked them up, and they're a production company.
But it's sort of a problematic name.
Well, I'll tell you what the real problematic thing is that they produce Lil Dicky's TV show.
Oh, there you go.
Wow. You'd almost rather they be the other cartel.
Yep. I think everyone except for you specifically would rather that Slava.
I love the cartel. You guys keep trying to spread this rumor, but I was going to tell you that I've actually seen this play before. 406,000 desperation play. You buy a bunch of bricks and you say, "Listen, we're just going to make this shit work, come hell or high water." And yeah, Vice is now what it always has kind of been on the low. It's a drug dealing operation. Run with this cab company that you guys seem to love.
That would be actually like, that would have been at least a sustainable business model if like we had all been a drug dealing company. Because that's kind of like how back in the day, like magazine companies sustained themselves, is they would be like sort of subsidized by the mob because the mob owned all the magazine distribution businesses. Because
Like
when
who?
you
Like
distribute,
who?
what's that?
Like who?
Like all of them. Like
Mad Magazine was a Gambino crime family front.
Yes. No, like all the major corporate ones, they all did business with mafia-owned trucking companies who distributed magazines. And the reason mafia people liked magazine distribution is because, you know, them trucks, they're pretty big and magazines are pretty small, and you can sort of hide things in magazines in order to make that work. And the person who actually sort of like disrupted the mafia was Larry Flint, the publisher of Hustler, who was just like, I'm going to undercut the mafia. Like at one point, Larry Flint was distributing the New York Review of Books. And this is why Larry Flint also was like shot.
Yeah, I was about to ask, like, this is how he ended up in a wheelchair.
Most likely. I mean, like, I once wrote a profile of Larry like 5 or 7 years ago, and so I know all of this stuff. And like, if you kind of read between the lines, like the timeline of him setting up the trucking company and him getting shot is like pretty neat. Let's see. They also owe money to Michael O'Shea. Michael O'Shea, who are you? What did you do?
Let's Google it real quick. I feel like there's going to be at least 27 Michael O'Shea's.
Man, Michael O'Shea? Fuck, I know Michael.
Wait, you talking about the American actor Michael O'Shea?
Who? What is his? When was he born?
He was born in 1906 and died in 1973.
Maybe. Did he work on the Little Dicky show?
He may have. Let's see if he has kids. That might be the key here.
Oh my god, I'm seeing that his son is Little Dicky. That makes him Big Dicky.
Yeah, there you
go.
Seeing they owe. Yeah, I don't know if it's they owe or they paid. It's money they paid. Right.
They paid. Sorry. Yeah.
They paid money to Facebook. They paid this since February through May of this year. They paid Facebook $887,000. That's probably like paid. So like, right, Trey? Like that's probably like putting money to make the Facebook spread the articles around.
Yeah. So yeah, they used to spend a lot of money on boosting shit on Facebook. Like a lot per month.
Like how much?
Like more than some people made, I think.
Wow, so like $2,000 a month?
I mean, this is almost $1 million this year.
No, I see. Like it was more than some people made in a year that they would spend in a month to fucking get shit on Facebook popping.
But we don't know if that's what that money's for. Maybe they're making a new Vice Sports show with Zuck and his MMA career, right? We just don't know.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it does.
Maybe they have like a premiere documentary on like naked sumo wrestling, and you know, it'll do numbers in more ways than one. Yeah.
I think it does sort of lay bare the truth behind a lot of digital media, though, which is that it's like pay to play. Like, you have to pay in order for the social media platform to hit, like, to give you the mushroom that like makes you go faster.
They also paid a bunch of money to Google. We don't know what this is exactly for, but it says like from February to May, they paid Google $400,000. I think they also paid Twitter a bunch of money.
They paid $100,000 to Revolt, the P. Diddy owned media
Diddy?
company. Yes.
Diddy?
That doesn't
Diddy.
surprise me.
People, in the year of our Lord 2022, people are still getting into business with Diddy. We talked about Ciroc like an episode or two ago, but man, come on.
Well,
Come
what did they do
on.
with him? I would watch a Vice Revolt show.
There would never be one. Diddy would take like the fucking 500 million in development fees and just be like, I'm gonna buy 7 jets.
Well,
And that's going to be the show. And it's like, we can't film any of this. And it's like, well, this is going to be the show.
I mean, Diddy is a notoriously good business person, assuming that good means Diddy is making money. Like the thing where he would make the bad boy artists like rent his personal cars and his mansions from him to film their videos is he basically invented Airbnb and Turo. Or not Turo.
And inventing people walking across bridges to different boroughs to get you cheesecake at an obscene time.
Yes.
Joe Budden
Also
does
that-
talk about he auditioned for a pilot on a Viceland show, and he was working with Revolt at the time. So I think if we follow the money here, we can get to some pretty good Joe Budden content.
Was this Joe Budden's release clause until he was just like, nah, I don't like the contract, and Revolt was like, okay, well, we're keeping the money.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Wow, that's the second New York rap media mogul who is like screwed Joe Budden over financially. You guys remember when Jay-Z rapped over what's the Big Budden song? Pump It Up?
Yeah. Give me that beat, fool. This a full-time Jack move. And then he did another one. He did T-shirts and buttons. No, wait, that was Lil B.
That was
Lil B.
That was devastating diss track. Devastating just, oh my God.
Joe Budden, more like Joe Booty.
Yeah. Isn't that the one where Lil B is like, damn, Joe, you could have been my friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's like the foremost Lil B scholar? We should have them on.
Honestly, it might be Kyle Kramer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta talk. Yeah, we gotta get friend of the pod, Kyle Kramer, on the pod soon. Wrote about Lil Wayne for an entire year.
Yeah.
That's the Lil B documentary under his belt.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you ever think about where rocks came from?
The record store in Carborough, which is like the Brooklyn of Chapel Hill, used to sell the Lil B ambient album on vinyl. And one of my greatest regrets is not buying it when I had the chance.
That's crazy that based means something completely different now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. You can contribute to the culture, but you don't get to decide how the culture interprets what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, Slava did not.
Slava's back.
You still have not explained why you're wearing like highway workman gear right now.
6-inch inseam shorts. Lululemon.
Okay.
Head top, fade by Slava. And then we have the high visibility vest for I think this was sourced in Costco. It's called Force Field. They make good high vis stuff, and it's really good if you want to avoid getting hit by cars, or if you're going to be walking underneath some kind of scaffolding that something could fall on you. If the person doesn't see you, it's also good to like fend off against coyote attacks, which happen more often than you'd think on the job site.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Like coyotes are huge.
It's Canada, they're in the woods.
Yeah, they all go up here. Northern coyotes. That's like the breed of them. They're huge though. They're like fucking at least 6 feet tall, 300 pounds, and if they stand on their hind legs, they could dunk.
Are you describing Teen Wolf?
Yeah, no, that's definitely a lie. They are not that big.
Okay.
I thought the main point of coyotes was that they were in packs. But this also, you're deflecting, Slava. What were you doing today that required you to wear such a garment?
I had blueprint reading class, so I was actually in class all day. I didn't have to be wearing this, but I took a shower and I wanted to put something big on in case I got cold. So I just grabbed the closest hoodie, and this is like my everyday hoodie. You know, this is like
blueprint
what I wear.
Reading class.
Yeah, you have to like do surface readings and then draw blueprints, and it's like for it's fucking boring, bro. Nobody wants to hear about this shit.
The rabbits rush around the brush.
You know what they do want to hear about though is
what?
how much money. It's how much money the executives at Vice paid themselves before declaring bankruptcy. And the answer is like a shitload. Bruce Dixon, the co-CEO, got a $112,970 bonus. It's important that we be precise here.
That's 70
on April. Yeah. Yep. On April 27th.
Did you also say like how much the entire package was?
I think that according to a tweet by a guy who works at Vice, it was like $700,000 to $900,000 in bonuses.
No. It says in the document.
Oh, really? Can someone else look this up because I'm looking at it on my phone.
So I got the Katie article open. So it says Chief Operating Officer Corey Hayek, who took home $726,068 between May 22 and May 15, 23, the date of Vice's bankruptcy filing. Folded into that sum was a $45,000 bonus on April 28th, a little more than 2 weeks before Vice declared bankruptcy. Chief Officer Daisy Auger Dominguez, who wrote a book on workplace inclusion revolution, but refused to give workers Indigenous Peoples Day off after Juneteenth made it onto the official company calendar for the first time, was paid $748,583 over the same period, which included a $99,000 retention bonus she received the same day as Hike.
Okay, in her defense, the title never said.
Yeah. Okay.
In her defense, the title never said who was revolting against whom.
Okay.
Can I play devil's advocate for a second?
Real quick. The day before Vice's bankruptcy filing went public, she posted poolside while on a vacation in Playa del Carmen, quote, "Room service for one on Mother's Day is everything." She wrote in the caption for a photo of a pristine piece of avocado toast, a fruit salad, and a green beverage.
I mean, I love room service, so, you know.
All of these people are like, I don't recognize any of these names, so I assume they're all hired after like 2016.
This was after the New York Times article, and they had to do a shakeup.
So this is like 2018, 2019, right?
Like 18, about.
And all these people came from like existing media companies or the tech world, right?
It was like late 18, early 19. Yeah. But I think it's like also partially they really wanted the TV station to pop off. So they're like, let's get somebody who's definitely already ran a media company to the ground.
Sure. I mean,
and then let's also get somebody who works at a TV station, but we're not going to let her do ice road truckers type shit. And then And then like also Jesse Angelo, like if you want to just jump ahead to what he was making, goddamn.
Jesse D'Angelo?
No, just Jesse singular Angelo. But yeah, he was making $28,125 a month.
This guy looks like sober
and
Shane Smith.
on January 31st, he got reimbursed for $5,973, which is that more or less the minimum vice salary when you were working there, Trey?
So there was a union minimum, and the union minimum was more than that. Okay. I can't speak to like permalancers and freelancers and stuff. Yeah.
Well, the good news is that as of March of this year, Jesse Angelo has actually started a new media company called Checker Media. So if you're listening to this and you need a job, I would suggest hitting up Jesse Angelo.
Are they I'm sorry, go ahead, Emily.
It seemed from the documents, though, that he's still getting paid by Vice.
Playboy.
I could be wrong. Let me see. Okay, Jesse Angelo. His last... He was paid, his last paycheck appears to have been May 9th, 2023 for $28,125.
He's like the Bobby Vanilla of Vice Media. They're just going to keep paying him out every year.
But he didn't see, I don't think he received a retention bonus because it seemed like the ones who were still working there maybe retained a retention bonus. Also, what is a retention bonus? Like, is this a known thing?
Pretty much. Yeah, like if you stay somewhere for you, because they gave us loyalty bonuses in the union contract. Yeah, it was one of the, like when we renegotiated the contract. Basically, if you stay there for like a year, we got like $1,000 that was taxed at like 50-something%. Yeah, it's a $99,000 retention bonus is fucking insane.
They all got different amount. They all got like different amounts of retention bonuses, but they all had like slightly different salaries. But somehow, in every case, for this cluster of like the real top people at Vice, it ended up between $700,000 and $800,000, or like it all. No matter what the specifics were, it was like it all added up to the same.
Well, the bonuses were based on how much money you saved Vice by like laying people off or refusing to pay for Slack or whatever, I assume.
And a lot of the stuff is pre-baked in. So like they would have been getting this money if the company had been going bankrupt or if they'd been going forward for another year. They just paid themselves and then were like, oh, we're out of money. And so it looks awful. And it is awful.
So are you trying to say that it wasn't a thing where they're like, oh, it's about to go bankrupt, we need to just pay ourselves out these bonuses? But it was naturally going to happen anyway at this time?
I'm pretty sure they because I remember when I got laid off back in November, I was supposed to get my loyalty bonus like on January 1st, and they're like, we'll give you your loyalty bonus anyway. So like I can't see why they wouldn't have done the same here.
They were going to do this anyways. It just so happened that the company was going bankrupt, so they're like, okay, well, here's our cash out, and see ya, everyone who's not an executive, with like the contract that says I get $100K for staying here for 2 years or whatever, the retention.
Right. All these people came from other companies, right? These people were not like hipsters that they pulled off the streets of New York. Clearly they had someone like draw up their contracts in such a way that would ensure them windfalls of money for years to come.
Yeah, no respect for the craft.
Is this like a really...
People who have never done the craft, no respect for the craft, man. Yeah.
Is this a standard practice at all companies that go bankrupt? Like, didn't they do something similar to this at Silicon Valley Bank?
Yeah, it was definitely a thing. Sorry, you go ahead, Trey.
No, you sound like you're about to be a lot more knowledgeable about this than I am. So,
Oh, I mean, it was definitely a thing where the SVB executives paid themselves massive bonuses, like right before all of the bad things started to happen. And this is like a recurring thing across any company that fails, basically. And it's sort of like, it does beg the question, like, damn, are they giving themselves bonuses right before they announce that they're fucked? Or is it all just a crazy coincidence?
What would you rather, though? Like, in your ideal scenario, wouldn't you rather it go down like this, where it's like drama and juicy gossip, instead of it just getting folded into like Condé Nast or whatever the fuck happened to Complex?
I mean, my personal preference would be that these
my preference is like they
executives,
would pay people the money that they owe them.
yes,
And yeah, I don't care what either one of those options entails, as long as long as it's like getting people the money that they're owed. Like, yeah, but yeah,
yeah. I mean,
but
I
I'll
think
go
it.
for it either way, man. It's no longer my pig. It's no longer my farm. But I do care about like people who getting exploited by this place.
Yeah, like there's no reason that the executives couldn't have been like, well, I've already made $650,000 this year. I guess I will forego my $50,000 bonus.
Yeah, but where does
so
that
that
happen?
like
So that like a couple, like one employee could be saved
Not
for the
even
cost
yeah.
of it.
save, man. Just like at least like 6 employees get this severance they're owed.
But then you can't do room service brunch for
Yeah, but then you can't go to
one
Playa del Carmen,
with avocado toast.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so celebrating Mother's Day without your children or whatever.
I think the reason why it's resonating so much is obviously the, contrast between, what the CEOs have going on at this moment and then the laid off employees. That's just extremely striking and disturbing contrast. But I think it's also this like really concrete window into a thing that like we all suspect, which is, executive pay is so high, and there's always a suspicion when you work for a place, like where's all the money going, or like why can't we pay for things? And you always suspect, oh, it's probably because people are paying themselves all this money. And we do have like an issue systemically in America where executive pay has risen and become part of like a big part of the reason for inflation that doesn't get talked about right now. And like here we have an concrete example of this that hits close to home, where we see the amounts that are getting paid out, which you don't really get a window into most of the time with private companies.
Yeah, it's like
they're the ones suffering from success. So
Yeah, I don't want to vilify the executives too much, man. Like
we all want to be a boss one day.
yeah, like what if that's you one day? What if you finally pull yourself up by your bootstraps?
Calm down, Meek Mill.
It's like Succession, or it's like, it's like getting to see into the salaries of the people. It's probably not as high as the people on Succession, but it's like, oh, these are the people who can kind of control the situation in their own favor or whatever.
Or like, yeah. It's like if you found out that right before the Titanic sunk, it was just, or it's like if you found out that the standard operating procedure on the Titanic was to just, once they got into the center of the ocean, move the lifeboats into first class.
I hear you. But think about how much money Jesse Angelo left on the table by not working for the Daily Wire.
That's true.
I never thought about it that way. Sometimes Slava be spinning, man. Well, just to clarify, Slava was not spinning right there. Just in case I get canceled.
Or no, I think it was fairly clear that Slava was spitting satirically.
Yeah, Slava, why are you so
Dude,
bossist?
I'm not thinking the shits were called dough cords for like a week, okay? Like, it's not always true. It's not always true.
Well, okay, listen. Do you guys know how much money you pay in taxes at that level? Like, all jokes aside, I'm pretty sure Americans pay so much in taxes at like the sea level, right? Like, those people are stimulating the economy by getting paid all that money. So
Oh, no, no,
That's
no.
true.
in some
They're
ways,
not paying taxes on their salary, Slava. What they do is they get something called equity incentive, where you get a certain amount of your salary is tied to the stock. So, like, say, for instance, Disney,
right?
you get your stock options that are worth, you get 100,000 stock options at $200 a share, and then you take out loans that are at a lower rate of interest than what the respective tax rate would be, secured against the stock that you own in the company. So really, they're not paying any tax, or they're paying very, very little tax.
Well, to me, it sounds like they're
You're probably paying more tax than the
I
average.
doubt that.
Like,
I doubt that.
0.1. Well, maybe not
Yeah,
you, but
dude, in America, yeah, when you make that much money, you have people you pay to make you pay a lot less tax.
Yeah. Like a certain point, like if you make enough money, like everything goes through a holding company that's based in whichever other nation it has the most favorable tax regime for you specifically.
yeah, there's a reason why every company is incorporated in Delaware.
It's because they all love Joe Biden, right?
Yeah.
They love sneakers with no socks.
Hey man, don't hate on sneakers with no socks. That's a cross class phenomenon.
Man, no, I know it smells crazy in whoever's house. Yeah.
The other thing that's sort of astonishing is like how you lose $500 million or whatever the fuck it was without like making any money back. Like, if you like, what would you guys do if you could just do whatever? You had $500 million to do whatever sort of business,
Mm-hmm.
and
I
like,
would, number one, never go into business with any private equity person.
Yep.
Yeah, like, no, yeah, that's, as soon as you're in a meeting with them, they're already thinking about how they chop you up for parts and get the fuck out.
Yes.
Like, that's, yeah. Like, did you saw what happened with Instapot?
No.
Some private equity people got involved in Instapot, probably one of the most stable businesses for like just general housewares or whatever. Because everybody loves a fucking Instapot, man. Like, you get some like beef shoulder, you throw it in the Instapot, you come home, it's ready. You throw some beans in there, they're ready when you get home. Yeah, Instapots are so fucking easy, and you're gonna sell them. But private equity got in there, tried to ramp shit up, and then Instapot went fucking bankrupt. And you know what's crazy? Instapot also like owns Pyrex or some shit like that.
What?
It's the same company. So now like Pyrex is like, bankrupt by affiliate. How is the fuck is Pyrex fucking man? Okay, again, let me
Pusha
not
T,
say anything that made me unemployable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
private equity is now.
I'm getting
Private
out.
equity's fucking up these crack dealers now.
Right?
I mean, it's
They've
also
crossed
just
the
like
line.
the proprietary Pyrex technology. It's great. It doesn't fucking break. You can do whatever.
There's better materials out there already. Like Pyrex
Do
was good in the
rappers talk about
70s.
him? Do rappers talking about him?
No, that's the thing. Is like Pyrex
Okay,
has
well, then,
crazy
yeah.
brand recognition amongst that sphere, but no one's even selling crack except for like Hunter Biden's people. Everybody's doing fentanyl.
Did you guys see the thing about how they found coke in the White House?
What?
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah. And they were
Yeah.
wondering with Joe
Whose coke
Biden,
is
and
it?
it's like, okay, is he Sleepy Joe? Or is he coked up Joe? He can't be both. Like, make a fucking decision.
Did they find out who it was? I saw something that said it was quote unquote linked to Hunter Biden, but is there any teeth to that?
No, Hunter Biden
Honestly,
does
just
crack.
blame it on him, man. Just blame it on him at this point, man. Like, he's the fall guy for everything in that family now. And I think he's sturdy enough to stand up against the allegations. So, like, yeah.
Yeah, Hunter's got to be the Danielle House of of Joe Biden's James Harden in the NBA bubble. When James Harden definitely had sex with somebody snuck him in the
Allegedly.
bubble, allegedly, and D House just fucking he took it.
Yeah, and in the same way, Hunter Biden is like Daniel House because a lot of his Spotify music isn't available in America.
That's also true.
For the house, for the team, though. Yeah, foreign whip that's clean, bro. It's lit. Made back, cover that, low jack.
Now that we're all back, I just want to go back to Katie Way's article in Hellgate, New York, because it has like a bunch of really fun details. Like, she says, I spent the last 8 or so months that I worked at Vice heavily involved in the union's organizing committee, which meant I spent a lot of time talking to my coworkers about why we didn't have any fucking money. At various times, there was no money to pay cast and crew members on time, or money to reimburse full-time employees for expenses they accrued while reporting, or money to pay for subscriptions to other publications, or for tools like transcription services or FOIA submissions, or LexisNexis or working laptops. We stopped printing our magazine because we stopped paying the printers. Our video teams had to scramble to rent gear because overdue bills made the company name all but worthless at most of the equipment rental facilities in Brooklyn. We stopped using Slack because Vice stopped paying for it. Snacks disappeared from the mostly vacant office, except for coffee and an inexplicably, believe me, we asked, and they did not explain it, large amount of milk.
There was so much milk in the office, and I never really there was so much milk in the office, dude.
Was it several kinds of milk? Like, did it have oat milk and almond milk? Oat milk, almond milk?
Yeah, it was like every fridge had a milk shelf or two. And like, yeah, it was like they would have like almond milk and stuff and da, but it was like a lot of 2% and like whole milk and skim milk and shit. And it was like, I never once saw somebody just drinking a glass of milk. Yeah, so it was like y'all don't need this much milk for people's coffee or whatever. Like it was so much milk.
I would like to see
a lot
if
of
there's
yogurt before they took away our snacks too. I don't know if y'all remember how much yogurt they just like used to be in the office.
And cheese sticks, like off-brand string cheese.
Yeah, remember when what was it, like first couple episodes we talked about the goddamn cheese vault. Vice was like the auxiliary cheese vault.
I think the most luxurious thing was they had like on-tap seltzer.
Oh, okay, that's one of the few things I miss about that office, man.
Right, yeah.
There's seltzer from the can or seltzer from the bottle, but seltzer from the tap is a completely different story.
It made it worth going into the office.
That's crazy. I forgot about all that till just now. That was like the one feature they had in the kitchen that I was like, what is this? Damn.
Yeah, and like it always came out the
Maybe it
perfect
was all
temperature
worth it.
too. It always came out the perfect temperature too. Even when you got to the bottom of it, it was still like, okay, it's not as cold as it used to be, but it's still cool.
The trappings of low interest rate culture.
Yeah.
But like, man, I've said this before, but what a cool company. And like, we are so no, but for real, like they're never gonna do anything like that again. Ever.
Yeah, because they went bankrupt buying fucking dairy.
Right, but when you like to work at Enron.
Yeah, that's a good point. I once knew a dude who worked at Lehman Brothers. Because like once you work at like a historic failure of a company, like you always have good party stories and or fodder for a podcast.
Do you remember when Vice used to hand out like Christmas bonuses for a hot minute? There would be like these.
My first year, they gave everybody a backpack and then did a raffle so like you could win a drone or some shit. And
I think I was there for 1 year before that where they gave out like an envelope full of cash.
Well,
before the backpack.
That was what, the 20th anniversary party from what I remember.
Maybe
it was like
that's what it was.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And they just said
the coolest night New York has ever seen.
Drew was actually there, so like, if you want to say anything about it.
I mean, I will say, just thinking about it now, like, yes, being like, I'm handing everyone $1,000 in cash is like a flex, but also it seems like a really good way to avoid paying taxes on your Christmas bonuses. And I believe the year after that, at the LA Christmas party, one of the executives, who I will not name because this was off the record, got up there and there was a raffle, and he was like, whoever wins the raffle, I'm gonna buy you a car. And then my friend won the raffle, and then she was like, oh my God, this is gonna change my life. I get to get rid of my, mid-20s millennial LA car, which was probably a Camry or whatever. And then the next day, said executive sobered up and decided instead that the winner of the raffle got just like a really nice TV.
Yeah, I was about to say, does it rhyme with main shift?
What's the coolest thing that you stole from Vice?
The coolest thing I stole from Vice? I didn't really steal that much.
Yeah, me neither.
There was a time. Yeah, okay, you say yours.
When I left the New York office to go to LA, I was like saying bye to the IT guys because my computer broke so much that I was tight with them. And I was like, can you guys like give me something cool to take? And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And he gave me like a USB to HDMI converter cable, which I wish I still had because those things are like pretty useful.
Was it like Vice branded?
No, it was like generic, like Amazon.
That's pretty cool. We didn't even get an IT guy until we moved into the new office. And then that guy like had all the Coke at the company Christmas party. It was weird because everybody thought he was a square. And then I feel like he overcompensated by being like, hey, you guys want some Coke? Which we did. But there was a time when we had a big partnership with Budweiser and there was like a wall of beer in the back room. And I lived really close to the office, and the security code to get into the office was 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would walk in on Friday nights and walk out with like 2 cases of beer in each hand, and go back to my apartment. I did that all summer, and I don't think they noticed. And if they did, they didn't say anything.
That's kind of one of the reasons I think they stopped having beer for free in the New York office too.
Because I kept taking it.
Yeah, you were coming down on the bus. Yeah. And just swiping our whole stash. Because I remember sometimes they would have like those cans of wine.
Cans of wine, you say?
That it's like half a bottle in one can or whatever.
Hello.
Yeah,
because we definitely had them for one like, like company party or whatever. Like they were barbecuing on the roof deck, and I was like, okay, cool. And people were putting those cans down, not realizing how much is in one. I think people were drinking like they were a glass of wine instead of like half a bottle.
Trey, at what point did they cut off the Old Blue last?
Oh man, that shit smelled crazy.
We found out why it smelled funny.
I forget exactly why. I just know it smelled funny.
We learned this recently at Drew's book release party. Like, remember we talked to the bartender?
Yeah. Shouts out John.
It was at the Bushwick Country Club, and he was like, you worked at Vice? Wait a minute. And he goes and like comes back with like a can, like one of the last remaining cans of Old Blue Last. And he said something about how the way that it was prepared or the way that it was stored made it go rancid. And it was like rancid before it even reached consumers.
I believe that.
Or like maybe low-key rancid, like slightly funky.
I only drank because it was free. I remember them trying to charge me like $6 for one in a bar one time. I was like, absolutely not.
Oh my God, Slava just...
Wait, no. You got to take a photo of it. This is the thumbnail for the next episode.
So speaking of things that we're very happy that we stole from Vice, I'm holding up a pair of Stan Smith Adidas that are Vice branded. and they are all white with a pink sole. And I actually kind of like even missed this detail until somebody came over and pointed it out. Yeah, Old Blue Last. It was what, rancid when you got it?
So apparently the marketing campaign that they decided on was contingent upon building buzz and then doing the rollout, which they didn't realize meant that a bunch of beer would be sitting in like a warehouse in Brooklyn, I think during the summer, which caused it to skunk before it hit like store shelves, bar shelves, whatever. Which led to Trey saying once that Old Blue Last is the only beer that tastes different every time you drink it. And also Trey saying that it's the only beer that tastes better warm.
That's because of all the egg they put in there. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, yo, imagine if someone was like, what if we like left a fucking 3 entree combo from Panda Express out in the sun and then made a beer that tastes worse than that, you know?
But man, what a great metaphor for Vice.
Yeah,
honestly, that's not fair to Panda Express, honestly, man. Like, that pepper chicken fucking goes. Shout out there.
But like for Vice to start off and do a beer that was based on Pabst Blue Ribbon, which is like a really basic beer, but also like a very Vice thing to be like, oh, you know that thing that's popular? Why don't we just do that, but like change it a little bit? Except theirs failed, which is crazy.
Or it was like Pabst was popular in like 2004 to 7, sort of when Vice was really on the come up. And then, so in like 2014, they were like, what if we just made a beer?
Well, that's kind of like my question about the whole thing that we're talking about too. If all these people came in like 2016 and maybe even onwards, 2017, 2018, they knew they were going to work for Vice, a company that is famously like not great to its employees. So that's why the executives,
staff and they were all Park Slope moms and stuff, and no way they can be bad people. So, you know.
right. So like you almost can't fault the executives for having a bunch of shit in their contract that made sure they got paid way too much money, because at least like they knew what they were getting into and they're like, well, I'm not going to get fucked over by Vice like everyone has been for years and years. I'm going to make sure my shit is ironclad. And obviously the people that you guys know didn't do that because they don't have the means to do that. But it's like, you know, like people in all sectors get paid way more at the C-suite than they do at the bottom. And I don't know if it like they're taking money from the people at the bottom by giving it to the people at the top. I don't think it's like that kind of vampiric scenario, but I don't know.
No, it is. Like, that's exactly what it is, man.
How is it not that?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
They would definitely argue that it wasn't that. Yeah. Somehow. They would make up some kind of like reason that it wasn't that, but I mean,
I work hard to make 20% less revenue than we did last year, okay?
Like, you have to understand market forces and the war in Ukraine, and there's just some things that are beyond their control. But I'm not saying that they did a good job. I'm just saying they knew they weren't going to do a good job, and they also knew they were going to a company that famously didn't pay people, so they probably had these contracts drawn up by some like Keanu Reeves in The Devil's Advocate style lawyers who knew how to finagle a bagel.
No, they went into a company where the people who are at the highest up get paid great. It's people at the bottom don't get paid great.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not arguing that. The people at the bottom have always been paid shitty. I am definitely not trying to make the case that that's not true. I'm just saying you can't fault the people at the top for knowing what they were getting into, so they made all these like stupid contracts that now sound ridiculous when we read them out loud on a podcast.
Dude, if you go to a meeting of people and it's a club that you want to join, they're like, oh, so we're gonna go shoot up a school, and it's like, oh well, you know, I guess I got to go do this now. Like, yeah, like you chose to be there. You chose to be there.
Yeah,
like, you could do the same fucking shit just being the creative director of some boutique in goddamn Lower East Side if you're so fucking cool that you should be directing cool shit for people.
But I also wonder is like how do you and what do you have to do to get into this group of people who are at like getting salaries at that level. Like,
Oh yeah,
it
we can't
doesn't
do that.
seem like it's merit
4 or
based.
5 years. Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's always merit based. Sometimes it seems like it's just who you grew up having your, who was your best friend when you were growing up kind of thing, or you were the right place, right time. But I just don't. Sorry.
If you marry someone who's like in like a rich family, you can like marry into it. But mostly it's nepotism.
Yeah, you can mom scams it.
It's Wamsgams. Yeah, Wamsgams vibes. But yeah,
no,
it's just like, well, what you have to be willing to do. Like, do you have to be willing? Like, what kind of person do you have to be to have like the right? I mean, I guess the character of Tom Wamsgams was an exploration of this. But like, what kind of person do you have to be to get there? What do you have to be willing to do?
I mean,
you need an MBA, and then you need to run a company or operate one, and you need to like fire a bunch of people, and you need to probably sell a company or two, and then executives will respect.
Oh, so don't forget, like having rich parents is already pretty key to this.
Yeah, I was gonna say you need to go to the right school early on. Like realistically, you need to go to.
Well, you can't just do all that stuff. Yeah, it has to be like curated.
Yeah, but you can't sell that lifestyle. You have to sell the lifestyle of like dirty heroin hipsters like Shane Smith. So like that's kind of where the disconnect comes in. Like, yeah, it sucks that this company got taken advantage of, but I'll go back to my earlier question of like, how would you have rather seen it play out? Would you have wanted to see them get folded into Condé Nast? Because that's really it. It's like it either goes bankrupt or it gets bought up by something bigger.
Well, it went bankrupt and it was bought up, and it's continuing. It's still happening. This is like a nice glimpse we got into what's going on, because we suspected things were going on, but we couldn't see it.
Well, you mean like that they got their debt collected on by that Citadel group?
They got the company was sold, or I don't know if it was sold or just kind of like released into the hands of the groups that had the largest kind of remaining stake in the company.
Shout out friend of the pod, George Soros.
Yeah, it was.
And it's also like, it's not just the fact that they got their like debt recalled or whatever. It's like every single move they made up to that point. And like, sort of pursuing this model of getting more and more and more and more funding based on the potentiality of future profits, and structuring the entire company around this idea of garnering more and more capital from investors rather than building something like sustainable.
Which is impossible.
No, man, like, it is possible. It's just that that's not the kind of model that this company was built on, and it's just, but it's I don't know. You have to wonder, like, did they kind of just like think of it as this thing where like, oh, we're gonna see if we can get away with this, like, raising all this money and see how long we can pull this off while making sure that everybody, in our inner circle, all of the investors get paid okay? Or was it literally just like they weren't able to figure it out?
The best case scenario is Twitter, which made no money. It still continues to make no money. And then Elon Musk was like, I'm going to give you $40 billion for Twitter. Right. If they're trying to find an IPO and they're trying to find maybe we can do TV or we can do this or that, and then suddenly like Disney will buy us and we'll make a bunch of money, that's great. But that didn't happen.
John, how do you know all this shit?
I work in, this is like what I work in corporate finance. I'm a finance tech bro.
Oh, okay.
We should be interviewing you.
Yeah, like what do you?
Well, it's funny, just like,
you know the most about what's going on.
The chief legal officer for Disney, which obviously Disney is a huge company compared to Vice. The chief legal officer for Disney's compensation just for this year is around $15 million. So
I'm saying Jerry Angelo is leaving money on the table by coming to do this
like $800,000 in an exit package for a bankrupt company, golden parachutes, nothing. When in the grand scheme of things, when you consider it in the frame of like, I'm not getting paid like I have an invoice like that's unpaid from Vice, and this guy's getting $800K. It's not acceptable, but these executives make so much money. It's fucked. It's crazy.
So they might think, oh, we're slumming it at this place.
Well, they're getting taxed
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
appropriately.
Well, and this is a private company as well, so it's a bit different.
It's like
The
when you've
business
already
model.
made $80 million and you're like, oh, let me go have a fun job now.
Yeah.
I would make the
Also,
argument.
Vice still owes me $1,000.
Right.
Yeah, we'll fix
Yo,
it.
you better go get that shit back from
Small
Los
claims
Angeles. You
court.
better go. I promise you, he's not hard to find. Like, yeah. You gotta go tapping on the green or some shit one night. Yeah. Put your whole hand in his Caesar salad. Demand your money.
My hot take is that this is a really good time to invest in Vice.
That's
All
true.
right. Honestly, like, yeah, but
They're
probably.
at the floor, and they're still here, bro. Like they're not the URL still works.
This is sort of the same reason that, like, if my book were to get adapted into a film or television show, I want Jack Harlow to play the me character. It's buy and low.
Drew, wasn't there already a movie that you think was based on your life?
Yeah. The Seth Rogen movie, like, Recount.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say
that was based on you?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Like,
do you know Seth Rogen at all? Or
okay, so check it. One, the screenwriter of this film went to, like, Parsons at the same time that I worked at Vice in Brooklyn. The Seth Rogen character is a dude who loves rap music and dressed in a lot of, like, neon windbreakers, etc., which I did during my Vice Brooklyn era. And the character leaves the Vice style media company at which he works to go work on as a speechwriter for Katherine Heigl's like, campaign. And sort of the way that I broadcast me leaving Vice was, my dad is running for Congress. I'm going to work on his campaign.
okay, yeah. At the Windbreakers, I was like, all right, man, this is like at least 27 white dudes I could think of off the top of my head. It got more specific. Like, okay.
And he wore, like, similar clothing. Like, didn't he have, like, a bucket hat that was similar to a bucket hat you had worn in an Instagram photo or something?
It was a jacket.
Okay.
But yeah. I mean,
well,
like,
you had a stalker pretty much.
Yeah. Or, like, so this came about, this theory came about.
So we're talking about a crime right now.
Yes.
Okay.
They didn't pay for your life rights.
Yeah, I am owed life rights by Seth Rogen.
It's crazy.
And,
you
like,
can't even find this movie. Like, what's this movie called?
I think it's called Recount, but
Charlize Theron?
Oh, yeah, it's Charlize Theron, not
Long
Katherine
Shot.
Heigl.
Yeah, Katherine
Long
Heigl
Shot.
is knocked up.
Okay. Charlize Theron, yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's
so,
called Long
like,
Shot.
but, like, Emilie watched this movie alone one day because me and my friend Nolan were going to see John Wick 2, and she did not want any part of that. And so she went and watched Long Shot, and she came out and was like, I think this movie is based on you, or this character is based on you.
That's sick.
And I was like, that's ridiculous. Then we watched a pirated version of the movie that night, and I was like, damn, I think you're right, Emilie. And then I told my buddy Jeremy Gordon, who was like, all right, no, you're like on cocaine right now if you think that's true. But then he watched it and was like, oh my God, I think you're right.
Do you know
like,
what Seth Rogen's name in that movie is?
Yeah, his character's name is Drew Millard.
It's Fred Flarsky.
Exactly. That's like a made up name.
Yeah, that's super made up. That's like, okay, well, we can't call him Drew Millard. Fuck, what are we going to do?
Exactly.
Fucking Fred Flarsky. Does that sound
Yep.
like a
Ice
name?
Cube son,
Does,
Andy Serkis.
Yep.
does Seth Rogen and
Yeah,
Charlize
June
Theron
Diane Raphael, Bob Odenkirk, and Alexander Skarsgård. Oh, this is
There's a
what did this
Sarsgaard
come
in it?
out on?
in the movie? No
Yeah.
spoilers,
Oh.
but do they fuck?
All right, listen, you got to take some liberties. It can't just be Seth Rogen's dad running for Congress in a heavily gerrymandered district that he's not going to win, which was my dad.
Right.
He's got to be working for Hillary Clinton, who is like a beautiful woman.
Yeah,
I thought that we were going to talk about AI. Like that was originally why you were bringing me on.
Trey, what did you want to ask Emilie about AI?
Like, first of all, what specifically what were you going to talk about AI tonight? Because AI music can mean a lot of different things.
Whether it is bad or good.
Oh, it's bad.
It's good.
All right.
Or I
thanks,
think
everyone.
Emilie is most specifically. Emilie, do you? It seems that you are very concerned about the implications of AI for sort of people who do creative knowledge work, especially the type of stuff that's like, making like writing like branded content in order to pay your bills, or doing
Will
like
Vice start using AI to replace writers?
Yeah,
Like other places are
absolutely.
talking about doing.
All the jobs we've had are gone
100%.
and are never coming back. We may as well have been cab drivers for that company you guys were talking about at the top of the episode. Uber's
Do you think
here.
that's good?
Yeah, but then I would have to drive.
It's
and-
neutral. It's not good or bad. Like, people adapt. New technologies come around. New companies come around. It's neutral.
Slava, you're so at peace with like the universe.
I just have a job at like a thing that's not media related at all. And if anything, like, I'm not to be Kim Kelly, but like I'm pretty sure all unions came around after the Industrial Revolution. So like all we need is another revolution, and then you guys can have your like knowledge worker unions.
Well, we actually had this guy Brian Merchant who used to work at Vice,
Is that the walking
like at
tours guy?
Motherboard. No, he didn't work at Vice.
Oh,
He wrote for Vice like a couple times or once, but this guy Brian Merchant, who was like a Motherboard editor, I believe,
Yeah.
really, really smart. He has a book coming out on exactly that, on the Luddite movement,
oh,
which
I
was
got
like,
the episode wrong.
yeah, but like it was like in the early Industrial Revolution, the workers were like seeing that the employers were bringing these machines into the factory, and they were like, oh, I see what you're doing. I see what this machine is for. And then they went and they just smashed the machine
Okay, but
and
like
destroyed it.
yeah, but
And
like,
that was like, so that was what they needed to do back then. But part of the thesis of the book is that that's going to have to happen. That might have to happen again.
what do you mean
now
happen
with
again?
AI.
Like that didn't work, right? Like people use machines to get stuff done. Like they're like carpenters can take a stand and say I'm not using cordless drills because or else I'll be replaced.
They refused the tech. No, they were into technology, which it's a myth that they were against technology, but they were against the technologies that they saw were being used to make their wages go down or whatever, or replace them. And so they were not the first like union, but they were kind of like proto union. And now we have like unions for different kinds of trades that help protect people against that happening. But we don't have it enough with like necessarily all of the trades that are going to be fucked with by AI.
Right, right. And that's kind of my point is I feel like maybe we need another revolution to kind of kickstart that because I know even in my job there's certain things I can't touch because I'm not part of the electrical union. So you can do like X amount of a job, but you can't open up that electrical panel because it's written into the electricians union that they have to be the ones to operate this specific function. Another example is elevator doors. I was making elevator doors for a while, and we had to make a special order for this store in Chicago that they still have elevator porters written into their union, like somebody that physically opens and closes the door. So we needed to put a manual handle on this door because it's written into the union that these porters still need to have jobs. This means that it's somebody's job in Chicago to just go and open and close an elevator door all day, which I guess is great for the sake of like making work for people. But I think none of us can argue that that's not necessarily like a sign of progress, right? Like elevator doors close themselves now.
Yeah, but
Why do we need progress? Why is progress good for its own sake?
Because like life just continues to get better. And like life is better now than it
For
was.
who? For
Oh,
who?
come on, man. Come on, like for everybody. We get to do this podcast over the internet in like pretty nice places with exposed brick walls and vinyl record collections and washing and drying machines. And like life is better as much as people like to pretend that it's like getting worse. I am just genuinely like I'm an optimist about the way things are and I want to be an accelerationist when it comes to technology because I feel like things will get better.
Dude, people were inventing things before we had this whole system that exploits people in front of us, man.
Yeah, they invented the
I'm just
system.
gonna.
Like people were doing this shit before capitalism, and capitalism accelerated it. But like, I don't think there's any proof to say that we wouldn't have certain things if it wasn't for this like whole system that just like beats the shit out of some people and rewards other people for being bad at their jobs. You know.
The guys who are like like the guys who are, I don't want to say just guys, but it is a lot of guys who are like, behind the, Sam Altman from OpenAI, like the guys behind these tools like ChatGPT, they envision a world where like nobody has a job, or like only the only people who have jobs are the people who like own the technologies, the executives who like own the companies, and like maybe some people under them who are like using machines to make stuff, but most people are just like living on universal basic income and consuming like ChatGPT made content all day.
And nursing.
Like it's a very Black Mirror. Like, and they think this is like what our lives should be.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess, like, you could have other jobs in this techno utopia as well. You don't need to be the Chat GPT consumer. I also think it like
welder,
Yeah, you could be a welder, you could be a millwright, many such jobs.
carpenter.
Those are the only people who are safe.
I mean, for now, again, like there will be a future. Like you talk about job
They got
creation.
robots doing backflips. They're going to teach a robot how to,
Cirque du Soleil.
Sooner than later, like it's
Nothing safe.
I think that the real thing about automation and AI is that like, rather than have a department of people all working together as a team, which is important for like, different ideas and input and creativity and stuff, and also just like human camaraderie, it will be the one best person on the team being the entire team, like using AI to like spin a bunch of different plates. And it's sort of like it's indicative of this thinking that humans are like flesh suits with computers trapped inside of them, and like the point is like, to keep keep the RAM running to its furthest extent.
Also, what? Because like all this like AI stuff is really just machine learning still at this point. We haven't taught AI how to feel and have like emotions and experiences. So what happens? Okay, all these media companies fucking fire the writers, Chat GPT or whatever the fuck is writing all these articles, and then they find out it's a specific style of chat that writes the best articles. So now every single publication has the same fucking book review, same fucking album review and stuff. Like, it's
And who says something about
they're just
that?
creating more problems for themselves.
And does the consumer have a problem with that? Like, who brings
Who
that?
wants to?
But I
Okay,
think
let me take a poll here. Like, who wants to watch a TV show that was written by an AI after the first time? Like, maybe you want to see it once because you're like, oh, I wonder how this will be.
It's like
Yeah.
more.
But then after that, who is interested in watching a TV show made by AI or reading an article made by AI beyond the first time where it's like the novelty thing?
I think there's always going to be the interest in the human creator, like not only in the sense of a movie star, but like I know Jesse Armstrong wrote Succession and he's a great writer, so I want to watch that show. But I do think AI is going to be used as a tool to access consumers. So it's like I'm a person, I'm looking at this big library like Netflix or whatever, and I have no idea what I want to watch. And AI is going to be used like to like get my eyes into more screens. Like it's gonna be used as a tool like that. Like I don't think someone's going to be sitting behind the AI and like using it like they're surfing the web, like they're on the AI, but it's going to be like webbed into the system to just like pull more of these people that aren't like on their phones 24/7. That we're like there's 6 billion people on this planet and we need all of their eyeballs. There's not enough eyeballs on the content yet.
But okay, so just back to AI. The last thing I wanted to say that to bring this conversation full circle was this article I read by the writer Hamilton Nolan, which was what if you used AI to automate the CEOs?
See, okay, this was my original idea, but we should automate municipal and federal government with AI.
That just sounds like crypto libertarian shit.
Yeah, nah, I don't like that.
How is that different from what you're describing just at a bigger scale? CEOs are kind of like mini presidents, right?
I thought you were saying like government bureaucracies.
CEOs are also sort of elected from a board, and that board's made up of other CEOs on other companies. It's like a boys' club that will never ever let like anything disrupt that. Like that.
Yeah, it's like how voting should be.
That like if for AI to take over
Landowners
the role
only.
of the CEO would be like the end of capitalism. Like we'd be in something new now where it's like computers control the world.
Absolutely, which is why we as a proletariat should fight for that. That
So
should
we
be the
should
change
fight-
we want to affect.
I mean, in a weird way, if you really wanted to get all accelerationist and shit,
Yes.
like kinda,
Yes.
yeah, you'd get the tech to defeat the ruling class.
That's right. Replace the
They
CEO.
tried this in the
But
Terminator
it would be
movies, and it did
programmed by
not
the
work.
ruling class.
That's true. John Connor fucking fucked it up. See if they just left it up to Arnold.
You see, I'm down with that, Slava, if you can guarantee we can invent time travel. Otherwise, it will backfire.
Okay, but all jokes aside, how is that different from what Emilie, by way of Hamilton Nolan, just described?
He's saying, I think that maybe on second thought, there are some serious issues with this idea. However,
What the not
like
the person outside my window.
basically what he says is
Just
that
like
like
and subscribe to Nersey.
he says, if we were to imagine a job that was a perfect candidate for replacement by AI, it would be one that consists of measurable tasks that can be learned, allocation of capital, creation and execution of market strategy, selection of candidates for top roles, and one that costs the company a shitload of money. In other words, executives.
Yes.
These lazy, greedy employees spend much of their day sitting on their asses, making yes or no decisions, yet they reward themselves with grotesque pay packages.
Yes.
Okay, he hasn't lied yet.
Shareholders are spending these extravagant sums for tasks that can now be done just as well by an AI program trained on 100 years of corporate reports and Wall Street Journal texts.
Not even 10 years, 100 days.
So that's what, I mean, it goes on, but that's what, I guess he meant that AI could do the tasks of these people who are soaking up, $700,000, $800,000 a year.
Yeah, but then like you get into like a smart house situation where you try to fuck off like from the office early on a Friday, and the CEO just like locks every single door. Like, where the fuck do you think you're going?
Yeah, it's true.
Do you have a tea time, Drew, at 3 p.m.? Unfortunately, you'll be working.
That sounds like
I mean, it sounds like-
Yeah.
It sounds like Hamno is perhaps
use
using
the
it.
time theft today to the total of 47 minutes. You'll be staying here. And it's like,
Oh my god.
yeah.
Definitely Black Mirror.
I mean, it sounds like he was making this argument sort of rhetorically.
Yes.
To illustrate. Yeah. Because if my AI CEO robs me of my precious tea times more than my current level of poverty does, I'm going to fucking wig out.
Yeah, plus AI couldn't do half the stuff Jerry Angelo does in his day before he even has his morning avocado toast.
It would be funny, though, to just have this sort of like version of the internet where it's like an AI musician makes a song and then an AI music critic reviews it. Mm-hmm. And it's this like closed loop of just like bots talking to each other.
A zoo where you could like watch the AI interact with the other AI, like so one like an AI music and then the AI review of the music. Like there's something there. I would get.
It's called that. Twitter.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, every time I post anything about how to be an alpha male, I get at least 15 comments back about the best shit coins to buy, and it's a closed loop. Yeah.
On Twitter or on TikTok?
Whatever.
On any site.
Yeah.
All right. We've been going for 2 hours and 8 minutes, 7 minutes.
Pretty chaotic episode, if I must say.
Pretty chaotic episode.
Emilie, thank you for
we'll
being
cut it
here.
down to a yes. Emilie Friedlander, thank you for being on Nersey. I'm gonna let Trey finish because he took us in.
Yeah, Emilie, thanks for coming on. If you actually want to talk about AI next time instead of the ramblings of 3 to 4 madmen, we'd love to have you back. But yeah, I don't even remember half of the shit we talked about. But yeah, it was nice to just like have an airing of grievances of sorts, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm Troy.
I'm Drew.
Yeah, I'm Slava.
And our producer is
John.
Emilie, you want to say bye?
Bye. My name is Emilie Friedlander. Listen to my podcast, The Culture Journalist.
That's Culture Journalist.
At substack.com.
Good.
Oh, yeah. And if you've listened to this part in the podcast...
Cut it. We're not promoting the show. Cut it.
Yes, we are.
Vladimir Zelensky, give the money back.
If you've listened to this far into the podcast, you should be following us on Substack, and you can do that at nersey.substack.com.
You should also probably taking yourself in somewhere, but
we don't need you.
Yeah.
We don't need you. We'll be fine without you.
Well, he was smiling like a porch as he rolled up the horticulture. Ignited it and said, I hope the vapors don't insult you. What I replied, denied, but mixing weed and hot. He said it was 9